Good evening. My name is Evan Gregory, and this is Bible Answers. We are going to finish looking at Acts chapter 19. It's been a few weeks, but we're going to go ahead and finish it up right now. And this is brought to you by the North Columbus Church of Christ in Columbus, Mississippi. And to go just to kind of recap, since it's been a while, remember we started in Acts chapter 19. We see where Paul meets some men that only know about the baptism of John. They don't know about the Holy Spirit. We see where Paul corrects that. And then we also see where we have a situation uh, pretty much with these people that basically see the miracles that Paul uh, has been doing. They see those things. Fear falls upon them all, and and we see the situation with the sons of Sceva here, and so they it says they come, they confess, telling their deeds, and they burn these books of these magic books, and we see the great value of them, but they get rid of all those things. They have no need for that, and it takes us to verses 21 and throughout the rest of the chapter. And so a lot of this, I don't have a lot to say about it. And so it's a fairly lengthy reading. So we just kind of read through it, and I'll make a few points or rather about it. And beginning in verse 21, it says, when these things were accomplished, Paul purposed in the Spirit, when he had passed through Macedonia and Achaia, to go to Jerusalem, saying, after I'd been there, I must also see Rome. So he went into Macedonia. So he sent into Macedonia two of those who ministered to him, Timothy and Erastus, but he himself stayed in Asia for a time. And about that time there arose a great commotion about the way. For a certain man named Demetrius, a silversmith who made silver shrines to Diana, brought no small profit to the craftsmen. He called them together with the workers of similar occupation and said, men, you know that we have our prosperity by this trade. Moreover, you see and you hear that not only at Ephesus, but throughout almost all Asia, this Paul has persuaded and turned away many people, saying that there are not gods which are made with hands. So not only is this trade of ours in danger of falling in disrepute, but also the temple of the great goddess Diana may be despised and her magnificence destroyed, whom all Asia and the world worship. So we see here of this individual of Demetrius that he makes these shrines to Diana. And so another name of this goddess Diana is actually Artemis. And so it's either there's differences whether it's the Greek or the Roman version of this god. From what I understand, it was like a moon god. And so we see where at Ephesus, there Diana was their god, and the problem here is we see where Demetrius is basically the problem is he's scared that because of what Paul is preaching, and then he's preaching that there's no such thing as idols or gods made with hands, which is true, that they are going to be out of a job. And he made a lot of money off of this. He says if we don't do something about it, um, we're going to be without a job. This trade of ours is in danger of falling into disrepute because of what Paul is saying. And also, we see where Diana may be despised and her magnificence destroyed. So he puts that in there, but it seems like to me that he's primarily concerned about his livelihood. That they're going to have to find something else to do if Paul keeps preaching, and if the way as is put here continues to grow. And so it takes us to verses 28 through 34. It says, now when they heard this, they were full of wrath and cried out, saying, great is Diana of the Ephesians. So the whole city was filled with confusion and rushed into the theater with one accord, having seized Gaius and Aristarchus, Macedonians, Paul's travel companions. And when Paul wanted to go into the people, the disciples would not allow him. that some of the officials of Asia who were his friends sent to him pleading that he would not venture into the theater. Some therefore cried one thing and some another, for the assembly was confused, and most of them did not know why they had come together. And they drew Alexander out of the multitude, the Jews putting him forward. And Alexander motioned with his hand and wanted to make his defense to the people. But when they found out that he was a Jew, all with one voice cried out for about 2 hours, "Great is Diana of the Ephesians." So Demetrius starts this up. Again, going back, we see that he calls these workers together and tells them what his concerns, and so they freak out. They're full of wrath, and then they go and start crying out, "Great is Diana of the Ephesians." And it must have been, you know, I had this picture that it was just a few individuals, but it seems like, I mean, unless they were very persuasive individuals, that this was a pretty good sized group to at least cause the whole city to be filled with confusion, as the writer here puts it. And then they go and rush into the theater and they seize Paul's companions as well. So you see here that there's confusion, there's chaos because of what Demetrius is saying. And we see where Paul wants to go in and wants to go into the people, but yet the disciples and even officials of Asia don't want him to go into this theater. So they're fearful for him. We see this chaos, this confusion, and to the point where people really don't even know why they're even there. They cry one thing or another, and so they're just there, crying out, "Great is Diana of the Ephesians," and we really don't even know why we're doing it. So it's just a strange occurrence here, and it just seems like there's a lot of people here that just kind of just following along with the crowd. Maybe they're wanting to see what's up, but they don't really know what's going on. And so we see where Alexander comes along, and really don't know who Alexander is. Maybe it's one of Paul's companions. Not really sure. But the Jews put him forward. He makes the defense. And then, of course, they don't want anything to do with him as well. So they start chanting, "Great is Diana of the Ephesians." And so it's almost like a riot that's kind of erupting here. And they're chanting, "Great is Diana of the Ephesians" for 2 hours. And again, it's just a very strange, at least in my mind, just a very strange event that's going on here, all because of one man. And so we go on in verses 35 through 41. And it says, when the city clerk quieted the crowd, he said, "Men of Ephesus, what man is there who does not know that the city of the Ephesians is temple guardian of the great goddess Diana and of the image which fell down from Zeus? Therefore, since these things cannot be denied, you ought to be quiet and do nothing rashly. For you have brought these men here who are neither robbers of temples nor blasphemers of your goddess. Therefore, if Demetrius and his fellow craftsmen have a case against anyone, the courts are open and there are proconsuls. Let them bring charges against one another. But if you have any other inquiry to make, it shall be determined in the lawful assembly. For we are in danger of being called in question for today's uproar, there being no reason which we may give to account for this disorderly gathering." When he had said these things, he dismissed the assembly. So the city clerk gets them quieted down, and he starts talking about Diana, and he says that the Ephesians is temple guardian of the great goddess Diana. Not really sure what that means, but maybe it's her chosen town, so to speak. Perhaps there's a temple there in Ephesus of Diana. But notice what it says about Diana. It says the image which fell down from Zeus. So apparently they think that Diana, or the idol of Diana here, has came from Zeus, which is, if I remember correctly, it's like the head god in Roman or Greek mythology. And so It fell down, and he says these things cannot be denied. It's just obvious. Everybody saw it happening, and so apparently this uh, somebody started this myth of this idol falling down from heaven, and it's just to the point where people are just yeah, of course this is what happened. And he's saying, well, since this happened and it's obvious that it happened, why are you so upset? You ought to be quiet and do nothing rashly, because this is, I mean, Diana is legitimate. And so why are you so scared of Paul, putting yourselves out of business or working against Diana? And so another thing that he points out here is not only that, but they haven't spoken out against Diana. This says that they're not robbing the temple. They're not blasphemers of your goddess. They really haven't spoken anything about Diana. And so the problem here is just that Demetrius hears of what Paul is speaking about, and this is what gets him fired up. But Paul is not actually directing. Uh, basically speaking out directly against Diana. And so he says, if you have a case, do it legitimately. Don't cause a riot. Don't cause this big scene to erupt. Courts are open. There are pro counsels. Let them bring charges against one another. But he says, for we are in danger of being called in question for today's uproar. And so it seems like that it's just, I don't know if it's just, maybe the city of Ephesus, the government officials there, or uh, officials of the Roman Empire, which, personally, I think this is probably the answer, is that the Roman Empire may get involved because of what they're seeing here. There's a problem here in this town, and these people, erupting into these riots and these disorderly gatherings. And he says, for this reason, we need to get ourselves straightened up and not to continue to act in this manner. And so when he says this, he dismisses the assembly. So apparently they've calmed down. They figure out what they're going to do, and then that's that. And so that actually ends chapter 19. And again, it's just there's not much you can say about it other than just kind of going through this narrative. But a very very strange event. We see where people are wanting to hurt Paul, but in this case, it seems people are just not necessarily out to get Paul, but they're rioting and just rising up in favor of their idol here. And so next time we'll start in Acts chapter 20. We're getting close to finishing up the book of Acts. As always, if you got any questions or comments, feel free to leave it here on Facebook or YouTube. Remember, we do upload these videos on YouTube, and you can leave a comment there as well. Leave a comment on our Facebook page. It's North Columbus Church of Christ. We love talking anything related to the Bible. And so until next time, I hope that you all have a good day and a good rest of the week. Thanks.